Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Influential Nonprofit. I'm your host, I'm Mary Ann Dersh. Of course, you know that. And today we're going to talk about how we, make friends and keep our friends because most nonprofits really struggle with donor retention. And I have a new friend, Sean Littman. He is the founder and CEO of GiveSuite. And we're going to talk about what they have learned, their company has learned about retention and how we can actually keep the friends that we make and sustain a community of support. Hi, Sean. It's good to have you here.
Howdy, it's a real pleasure to be here, and it's always fun to be on the other end of the microphone for a change. I actually host my own podcast, which you're going to be a guest on as well.
I
But
am.
it's super fun to be over here, and yeah, I mean, retention is key. Like follow ups are key.
Yep.
Staying on top of your people is key. Building your community and building fans is the number one way to be successful in any business and any organization. And a lot of people screw it up because they're afraid to follow up, they're afraid to do all sorts of things. And in the digital age, there's so many different techniques and tricks that you can do to turn people into stark raving fans and continue that conversation with
Yeah.
them.
The technology is such a gift in order to do that. And before we get into that, I always start with the first question of the podcast, which is tell me something you're proud of that you don't get to brag about a lot.
Oh man, I don't really get to brag. I don't like to brag about anything. I'm super proud of like a million things, but I will tell you, I'm like really proud of the company that we built with GiveSuite, because we built it out of a need for seeing whatever that so many small nonprofits were really suffering with the software solutions that were on the market for them, and we built something that actually works for them, and we're seeing how people are using it and really being successful. I just love helping people, and being able to help them grow their organization is really something that I just get real excited about.
Right. And you're a bit of an upstart.
To put it nicely, I mean, this isn't the first company I've built and really taken to the moon and back, but yeah, and it's fun.
Yeah. All right. And so we're going to talk a little bit more a little bit later about, what you do and how you work with audiences, but I want to get into retention. I did a talk last week and the talk was really about, I think this was specifically about events, how people stir up a lot of energy, right, during an
Mhm.
event, but they don't think about the follow-up, what happens after, right? Setting like what happens
Yeah.
before, during, and after. They're just so into like, we just got to put this event on, right? We got to get these
Hmm.
people in here and have a good, like, how do we notice in the room who's interested? How do we, instead of like looking at logistics and we're looking at engagement. And I think I was using events, but really this is true across the board,
Yep.
right? And we tend to measure, and I just want to hear your thoughts about this, how much you give, but there's so many other ways to measure engagement. And because when we do that, I always say this, you put the relationship first and the money will follow. Engagement. And one of the stats was like it was like 70% of donors stopped giving because they just didn't feel like they were communicated with.
Yep.
And it's the difference between getting out that thank you the next day and having somebody open
Hmm.
up their inbox and seeing pictures of this
Well,
event and feeling or a week, right?
well, you're touching on a bunch of good points, and this is something that we were, circling back to my platform for a quick minute. This was something that we found was super lacking in a lot of the other software tools out there on the market for nonprofits. Because you do an event, you do a fundraiser, you do something, everyone's all excited, yay, we did it, we reached $1 million, blah blah blah. But then what? The next after, everyone drops the ball on that. There's no follow up, there's no post campaign, there's no continued conversation with that. And because everyone's all excited, but then what? So one of the things that we do this with our marketing, with our agency clients, and everybody should be doing this, is the minute you're done with an event, you have an automation go out that says, "Hey, thanks so much for coming to the event. Thanks so much for taking part in our campaign and being part of this endeavor. Blah blah blah." Just hit them while they're still hot, so that you're top of mind. And one of the things that we've built into Give Suite is this whole amazing automation system that does that, because people are still hot and people are still into giving and doing if you just follow up with them and just remind them, hey, this just happened. And I've seen this. We've tested this with fundraising campaigns where people hit their goals, everyone's all excited, champagne's popping, all this other stuff. And then the automation goes out saying, thanks so much for donating, being part of our campaign. It was really impactful, which your donation was really amazing. And you can even set this up to show them the exact amount they gave. And then you follow that up with, this is what your donation is doing. Would you like to partner with us on a monthly basis? And we've seen people turn that single donation into recurring just from those emails, just from that little
Right.
tap on the shoulder. But everyone drops the ball on this because either they don't know how to do it, they don't think about it, or they're just like they don't care. Then the fact when you get to the third level of I don't care, then you're just wasting your time.
Right. I think most people really do care. They just don't think about it.
Right.
And I think specifically around events, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but they're because they're just so consuming, and you're just trying to get, in it and through it. Like you don't want to, oh, well, I'll worry about it after. But really thinking about engagement as a process and a journey that people are on. Not
Right.
everyone's going to go
Well,
all the way down the road with you,
but they
um,
can though.
right, but
It-
and they can't, and they certainly won't if you don't have a system in place for them to do that.
right. One of the other things I often find is that people don't, or nonprofits and even businesses, like businesses, not they're all the same thing. But they just don't think of the long term game. They're always they want, they focus on the now, but they don't focus on the long term, the cultivation. Because again, you're doing a fun. Let's say you're doing an event, a charity event, and everyone's happy. You dropped a ton of money on this event, and you're like, okay, let's try to recoup that. No, you're not going to do that. But let's, or you're doing a fundraiser, and we got the money now, but then we don't hear from you for till the next fundraiser. And I've literally had this with clients where they bring us on to run ads for their campaigns, and no, and everyone's just like, well, who the hell are you? And I'm like, exactly. If you're not like top of mind all the time, continuously following up and continuously having a conversation with them, then you're not going to have a repeat. It's not going to have that effect. And people don't realize that you really need to be top of mind.
So what are some of the ways, like examples that where you could be top of mind? The reason I say this is because I think there is a fear that it's too much or you're going to be bothering people. And I don't see that at all, but I know that that is a fear that people have.
For sure. I mean, one example is we do lots of email marketing sequences. We create lots of email marketing automations and campaigns to trip out to people, and we with interesting content. It's all about understanding your audience, understanding who you're talking to, not just blanketing your content and blanketing your emails to everybody that's on your list, because some people are going to resonate with something, some people aren't. Some people are active engagers, some people aren't. And it's about creating a email sequence that is actually going to engage them without asking them to do anything other than to learn more. And then slowly down the line, slowly down that drip, you can start to ask them for donations. But by doing that, and compelling stories, testimonials, one of the things that we do is we have this sequence that we write for all our clients called Meet the Heroes. We will literally interview everybody from the janitor to the CEO of the organization, get their story, why they love working for this organization. And we turn it into emails, we turn it into social content, we turn it into podcasts, even. We do all this stuff with them. And it's ways of engaging people, getting them to be more familiar with the organization, turning them from follower to fan, and having them be participating in what you want them to do. And this is how you really stay top of mind, by this engaging content. And again, email is key. And you can send out, I like to do 10-part email sequences, and people look at me like I'm insane. I'm like, no, because people, you need to really stay on top of these people. And it shows. The more engaging you are with them, with the stuff that actually matters to them, showing them, not just telling them, they will give you money. They will be happy, because all people want is just a little tap on the shoulder saying, hey, what's up? I care about you.
Right. Right. That there's a phrase I learned, people come for the cause, they stay for the community, right? They
Yep.
want to feel connected to something bigger than themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we are. We're community builders. And like I'm old enough to be from the spray and pray era, right? Where you were mailing things, physical
Hmm.
letters to people, or an email with or a newsletter with a response envelope, and like, fingers crossed. And it's like there's almost no excuse now because the technology just exists to automate this. And even though I know it's automated, right? Like even though I know it comes like Marianne, blah blah blah, I know it's automated, but it still lights up your endorphins, and it still hits that subconscious part of your brain that
Yeah.
feels special. And
Yeah.
my conscious brain knows it's automated, but it still lights up all the parts
But
of me, and it does respond.
also, like, you're talking about how like you're consciously feeling like it's automated, but you're responding anyways. You can, it's all about having good copy, like really creating an environment and like a whole thing, like really atmosphere and environment of people that tells that story, because organizations are walking storybooks. And if you don't have content and you don't have stories, then you're doing something wrong.
Right. Right. And I also like content, that I love that hero. What did you call it?
Meet the
Meet the
heroes.
hero, meet the hero. I also love donor stories too. I feel like, just somebody talks about why they're committed, what they love about the organization. I think that's really powerful. I don't think we tell enough donor stories. And of course, people love to be featured, love to be put in the spotlight. And also, I think there's a lot of content around expertise as far as, if you care for seniors, you can share,
Oh, for sure, we
right?
do
Like
this all
how to
the
care for
time.
seniors. Or like,
Well,
one of my clients is, working on climate crisis, and they can say, here's 10 ways you can impact, 10 simple changes to you can make, or just things like that, that
well,
you have that expertise. It doesn't, I'm just saying it doesn't
that's
always have to
something.
be stories like personal stories. It can be really good information.
For sure. Well, that's something actually that I also teach a lot with my clients is productization for monetization, and taking your expertise in what your organization does and turning that into a product, whether it's paid webinars, suggested donation webinars, event in person like seminars, like you gave an example, like you're working with your seniors, right? And your organization has a specific technique. My English, been in Israel for way too long. Specific techniques on how you handle like the seniors in what you do and the different things you do. So teach that to the world. I'll give you a great example. I worked with an organization once a long time ago. They were a volunteer EMS organization here in Israel, and they had something that no other EMS organization anywhere in the world was doing. It was called an emotional first response unit, EFR. And
Okay.
they were going out there. It wasn't a unit of paramedics. It was people who were therapists and, trained, mental health professionals. And if someone was on top of a building ready to, God forbid, jump off the building, or do something or unalive themselves, they would dispatch these people and they would work with them and calm them down and deal with them. And they had a technique of how they did it. And I told them, I said, you guys are sitting on a gold mine. You could literally create this product, create this seminar, go out there and train other EMS organizations around the world to do it. Unfortunately, they didn't take me up on my idea, but like when you have something and because a lot of organizations don't realize that are allowed to make money. You're just a business with a tax deductible status. You're allowed to make money.
Right.
And when you have these things, when you have these skills and these different like things that you do that nobody else does, turn it into a product. We're doing this right now with a client of ours, turn it into a product. And in that also builds community. That also builds some, a sense of belonging. And and people don't realize this.
Right. Yeah. I think it's really underutilized. They all realize that they have an expertise that can give value. And a lot of those, when if that you are connecting with the people who care. Okay, I wanted to talk about a little bit about you know, digital. You mentioned before we started the recording, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
bring this up. The lessons learned of for digital marketing that we can now bring into the nonprofit space as far as, building our our donor base and retaining the donors we have.
Sure. So, I mean, there's a couple different things. One, we actually special in our agency on side, we specialize in Google for nonprofits and using the Google ad grant to drive traffic and grow your email lists and turn them into donors. But we're also taking a lot of the techniques that we do with our ecom clients and like retention to tools, abandoned cart like email workflows and emails, and using that for donation pages and using that for taking that traffic that comes to your site, all these anonymous people that are coming to your site, and turning them into leads and pushing them to become donors and volunteers and partners. And there's a tool that we use. It's called Lead Post. This is not an ad for Lead Post, but we love Lead Post. And Lead Post integrates with your website, and you can put the pixel on your site, and it'll pick up anybody who comes to your site and put them into a workflow, and you can start like following up with them. And it's all legal. It's called anonymous lead grabs, and it's something that they do in the e-com world a lot with retention marketing, but we started to do it with nonprofits because we see such an overlap. And once you start getting these people on, you start talking to them because I'll give you an example. One of our clients, we were running a Google ad campaign for them, a grant campaign. They got 6 opt-ins on that campaign, like actual opt-ins from that specific campaign, but they got 230 leads because of the lead post pixel. They were all like-minded people interested in the opt-in, but they just didn't do it. So now they have a list of 230 leads where we sent them an email to remind them, hey, wait a minute, you were on our site. And then we put them into that general email sequence to follow up with them, tag them. And now we have an audience of people, of new donors. And it's working. And the same thing with the abandoned cart stuff. The same techniques you would do for abandoned carts, you could put this on we put this on donation forms, and we follow up with people who are about to check out, about to make a donation, but they didn't. And we shoot them an email saying, hey, we noticed that you're interested in making a donation to our site, to our organization. And it really it hits them, and they end up making a donation, sometimes even more than what they were originally planning to do.
Wow. Because I learned about this the first time we talked because you said, "Oh, you were on my site." Right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, "Wait, you capture people who go to your site." Like, wow,
Yep.
that's pretty powerful.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It is beyond amazing, and nobody's talking about this in the nonprofit world because what I've noticed in the nonprofit world is that people are like very siloed in their marketing what they're doing.
What do you mean by that? Siloed in their marketing.
Meaning they're stuck in their ways. They're not open to doing new things, and a lot of people in the marketing spaces with the nonprofits are focused a lot on social media. They're focused on email marketing, and the things that worked in the past, but not out there trying new things. And I've seen this because when we come in and work with different organizations, we see what they're we go through and do an audit, and we see what they've been doing, and it's pretty standard stuff and nothing exciting out of the box. I always like to say, the box is here and I'm like down the road.
Right. So far out of it, you're down the road, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you got
So
to be creative.
I really like I agree, and I really like your model. Explain a little bit of like how you work with like what your niche is, who you work the best for, and how you work with clients.
So we've been doing this for a long time, so we get to be really picky on who we work with, and I say that nicely. But we tend to work with established organizations who have a larger donor base and database that they haven't touched in a while, and they don't know how to re-engage them, and they're looking to leverage their Google Ad grant and turn that in and help them grow and scale that. And then also paid ads, whether it's Meta, Google, any paid media. And what we do is we come in with we call it the Elevate and Accelerate program, where we help you elevate your community, accelerate your monthly giving, and then monetization for productization. So on the Elevate and Accelerate side of it, we first start out by doing re-engagement campaigns, creating email sequences to re-engage your existing list, to wake them up. Because
Mhm.
as I said before, all people want is to feel like you care about them. And those specific cases, uh, um, I, I apologize. I have to. I can you pause the recording? My
Yeah.
wife is texting me. There's an emergency in my house. Um, so what we like to start with is re-engagement campaigns. One, because it's quick wins. Because when you start sending out emails like to the low-hanging fruit, they're gonna start to pay attention and they start to donate. We've seen this significantly when we test it, that these people will donate because now they start to see, they're like, oh, you actually care about me. And but you don't even ask for anything in the re-engagement campaigns. You just say, follow us on social media, check out what we're doing. This is what we're up to. Create that conversation, start that conversation, because it doesn't matter if you haven't talked to them in a long time. The fact that you start showing up now is it's all about what's going on now. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. And then we like to leverage Google for nonprofits to create campaigns based on what people are searching for on the internet within your organization, drive traffic to your website, grab the leads with, and get them to opt in also for an offer, and put them on a email sequence to engage them, talking more about who you are, what you're all about, how this organization is amazing, and why they decided to sign up for your download, and then pushing those people to make a donation. And then once they get through that sequence, we start sending them more. We gauge how they're doing, whether how many people are actively opening, how many people aren't actively opening, and then separate those people off into more frequent communications and infrequent communications. And then we'll also start working on creating a product funnel for what you offer, to run paid media to that and be able to create more channels for monetization. And then continue the email sequences, meet the heroes, donor stories, all these different things to keep up the conversation so that you're always top of mind. And it works because a lot of these organizations aren't doing this. They know they need to do this because why not? You have Google money to use, and it's a way of really growing. For example, this organization I'm working with right now, they've been around for 35 years. They have 35 years worth of data. A lot of their people are old. They don't have many names. They have emails, they have phone numbers. And part of why they brought us in is to grow a newer, younger database so that they can start working on getting more people into, continuously re-engaging the old people, but also working on engaging new people to really grow the organization. And this is the guy we got 230 leads from in a week, and they're on his email sequence. They're they're getting his newsletters, and they're really engaging. He's making money.
Yeah. I love that. It feels like, where are these new donors going to come from? And they're going to come from here, right? And you can set that up and basically automate it.
Yeah.
And
And,
you
and,
said something that I think is really important in there that I would love to highlight.
and
That you talked about a download a PDF, right? Some
yeah,
kind of lead magnet, some kind of
offer.
something
Mm-hmm.
offer instead of sign up for our email list or
Because
newsletter.
no one
Like,
cares. You
no
want to
one
give
cares.
something
Yeah,
tangible.
and I hardly see anyone doing this, and I wish people would, and I've been begging organizations to do this. It is so it can be very, very simple. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you work with unhoused people, how can you help,
Oh yeah,
people,
it,
whatever it is, like, how can you, 5 ways to
I
help
have
your
tons of
kids with
these.
homework or something, or whatever it is that you
Well,
work with.
Well, yeah. I mean, one of my favorite clients we worked with was a guy who was called the Bipolar Wellness Foundation. He was like our boilerplate funnel for everything we do now, and he was a guy he discovered a natural cure for bipolar, cured himself, and he's a therapist, a doctor, a rabbi, all sorts of cool things. And his funnel was, download my, he wrote this massive book on, and he sells it on Amazon for like a print version, and we chunked it down to an ebook, The Natural Cure for Bipolar by Dr. Michael Rose. And we were running Google search ads for it. And the funnel was, go to the landing page, download the ebook, learn more about get put on an email sequence, learn more about who he is and how he's helped people with testimonials, book a 15-minute strategy call with Dr. Rose, and then like a 15-minute like consultation with him. And then he would get people to sign up for 3 sessions for $500 at the nonprofit rate. And people would continuously work with him, and he'd get more stories, more testimonials. But it all came because of his ebook, and people actually read the book. And we do this with everybody, like whether it's an ebook, whether it's a holiday card, with a lot of the Jewish organizations we work with, because I'm visibly Jewish, and the Jewish organizations tend to find us. It's very hard to work with super niche organizations, but come the holiday times like Rosh Hashanah and Hanukkah and like Passover, we create these giveaways that are relative and relevant to the holiday, and people download them. People like them because they have them on their table. They have this like we for Passover for this organization, we created a Passover card and people were downloading it and they loved it. And it's tangible and it's nice. And spend them, use your graphic designer, create something nice for people, something tangible, and give and people love it. It's all about having a good funnel, a good offer, following up, and knowing your audience. Then you win at
Yeah.
marketing.
I love it. That is the magic formula that you just described.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very simple and you don't even need it. You could probably do it on Canva as well, right? Like there's
Yeah,
just a lot of ways to get this done. But the point is that once it's set up, it's just working for you. You don't have to think about it. And that's the
yeah.
beauty of all of this,
Well,
right?
well,
It-
also,
you're keeping people happy, using the automated tools that you have.
yeah, but also it's like a lot of these type of things that can be very evergreen too. Like, this bipolar guy, the bipolar funnel, it's still running. It's been like 3 years and it's running on autopilot because people are looking for it. You have to be the way to do this, you have to be the answer to you have to solve the problem that people are searching for on the internet. You have to
Right.
be the answer. And so when you're doing that and everything's consistent across the board, you can run these things on evergreen on autopilot. He was getting like 10 to 15 leads a day, and he was closing like four or five of them every time they would show up.
Wow. Wow.
That's donations. It's all it's
Right.
donations. And
Right.
and people can do that. You can do that with pretty much anything, depending on what your organization is doing. But people don't like to think out of the box. They don't. A lot of organizations don't like to. They're like, okay, this is what we do. This is how we do it. And then when they realize, wait a minute, we have something that we can actually monetize. You know, then they're like, oh, that's so cool. Why didn't we ever think of that? And as I said, I feel like a lot of organizations are very siloed in their marketing, very siloed in their processes
Yeah.
and their communications,
Yeah.
and they don't either they're scared to take the next step, or they don't know how to do it because they've been burnt by so many consultants and other people who just don't know what crap about what they're doing. And I it sucks, but you gotta put your pull your pants up and just go out there and do.
Yeah, I think this level of automation that you're describing, can
Oh,
be scary for somebody. And I think there's
oh,
a mindset piece to this as well as far as releasing that and just,
well,
allowing,
yeah,
allowing these processes to work for you. Because I think and I hear what you're saying, and what I heard from this is sort of the norm. Like we all do that. We all, this is how e-commerce, right, works, and nonprofits really aren't taking advantage of the way these systems
yeah,
operate to just drive leads to them.
yeah. I mean, this is also part of the beauty of Give Suite. Like, this is why a lot of our clients are also software users of our software, because everything flows through one system, and you have all your automations going, all your workflows moving, all your everything going for you, and it just never stops. And when you have the right system that's working for you, that's easy to use and helpful, then it makes all the difference in the world. I have a webinar where I talk about, it's called Not All Systems Are Created Equal, because software is, a lot of people don't understand this. Software is not just a solution, it's a strategy. If you don't have the right strategy for implementation behind your software, your marketing is going to suck, your operations are going to suck, your donations are going to suck. Like literally everything's going to just fall.
Right, right.
And a lot of people don't know what they want, and they end up getting suckered into some of these platforms that don't do what they need, like unlimited automations and unlimited actions, and all these things that are helping you versus hindering you. And then they get sucked into these things, and then they're paying through the nose for that, so they can't afford the marketing stuff that actually works hand in hand. And it's a continuous cycle of just like crap. And I've fixed so many problems with people like this. I've literally, I get on the phone with people. I'm like a therapist with people. We get
Hmm.
on these calls and we help people fix their problems, whether it's on the marketing side, whether it's software side, both, and really help them elevate and accelerate. in order to do what they do best.
If someone wanted to contact you to for you to fix their problems, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So you can reach out to me, Sean at givesweet.com. I'll give you a link to my calendar. My door is always open for a virtual coffee. I love to help people. That's my offer everywhere on the planet is that you can book a call with me. We can have a virtual coffee and schmooze. And if I can help you, be more than welcome to.
Awesome. Um, I I will put the links in the show notes. So if you want to reach out to Sean and talk with him, because this has been, I think really eye-opening, and I hope more organizations will start to use the tools that they have. It just sounds like just makes life, oh, I know it does, because it makes life so much easier when you have these systems in place. I always say, systematize to stabilize. I think you're saying like, or you could say systematize to monetize, but really the systems. And I'm sort of like a make it up as you go kind of person. And also I'm really, really good at building systems because that allows me to make it up as I go, right? Because I know
Sure.
all of these things are working for me, so I can stay in you wind
Well,
up where,
that's the key. And that's the key. And I've seen this with a lot of our users on GiveSuite, is that we work with them to get them in their flow because everybody works differently. You understand this. Everybody
yes,
has a different way of working. And when you have a system that's like this is how it works and you can't there's no room for change, then it becomes very difficult because everybody has their ways of working. I mean, I still write stuff on pen and paper. I have my Franklin Day planner literally sitting right next to me. I write everything down on a pen and paper. And I have a software company. Go figure.
yeah,
But like, when you like what we like to do with our users, and we do it at scale too, is we work with them to help them get set up to the way they want to work in order to keep that flow going so they don't have to think about anything because
right.
as a nonprofit leader, as a nonprofit employee volunteer, you're way too busy as it is. So like to be able to be like bogged down by stuff that is just like not worth your time, having the right automations, right things. I mean, my favorite story, and I'll just tell you this if it's okay. One of my users, she started off working with us. She was doing $14,000 annual for her year over year, and she was doing everything on WhatsApp and spreadsheets. And once we help, she's technologically literate also, as most nonprofit people are, and that's okay. And she was doing all this on spreadsheets. She signed up with us. We started working with her. We helped her get into a flow and how she wanted to work, set up all the automations for her. And she ended up clocking out over 130K in end of Q4 and 24. And she was able to hire someone to work for her, to streamline all her processes, really build out everything. And now she's on her way to surpass that, what she did last year, this year, because she has everything in place and she doesn't have to think about it.
Right.
And when you have that level of automation in your organization, then your marketing works, your business works, your donations are coming in, and you just got to go out there and keep changing the world.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, so I think this is a great place because my last question is always the same as well, which is now you're in Israel. I'm in
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis, Missouri. If we would ever wind up in the same dive bar singing karaoke, what, Sean, is your go-to song?
Oh man, I'm a musician. You asked me a really hard question.
Oh, you're a musician. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I play drums, guitar, saxophone, piano. So you asked me a really, really hard question. Oh man. Mm, I don't know. Ah, geez.
I'm stumping you.
You are. This is really hard. This is like the hardest thing I've had to think about all day. Uh, uh, I think it would have to be one of my favorite songs of all time. It's called "What I Got" by Sublime. And whenever I go out there and just busk on the street, sometimes I play this song, and it's a real fun, nice song. And I would sing that karaoke.
What is it? What song is it?
It's called "What I Got" by the
Oh
band
yeah, of course.
Sublime.
What
There
I
you go.
got,
There you go.
love is what I got. I got
Loving is what I
what I
got.
got
Said remember that loving. If you want, I can play it right now. I have my guitar
is
right
what
behind me.
I got.
I
That's
got I got my guitars right
wow.
behind me.
That's amazing. Thank you. We are gonna have to do that. We're gonna have to get that done some way.
Yeah,
All right, Shauna, it's been great to have you on the Influential Nonprofit. And again, all Sean's door is open for virtual coffee. We'll put the link in the show notes. I sure hope you do reach out. And that is it for me and this episode of the Influential Nonprofit. And we'll see you next time.
awesome.